Welcome into the LSU Sports Insider podcast. Today is Monday, November 24th. I'm Zach Ewing with Wilson Alexander and Scott Rabalais, and we are here to talk. What else are we here to talk about? LSU's coaching search, which appears to have zeroed in, Wilson, on Lane Kiffin. Although we were just talking off the air, maybe not as much as some people think it is zeroed in on Lane Kiffin, or we're just not as confident as maybe some people are that he is going to be the guy.
No, so what I would say about it as we are speaking at about, on Monday morning, LSU's search is zeroed in on Lane Kiffin. He is the primary target. What is not the case is this is not a done deal at this point, according to everyone I've talked to who are kind of involved in this in one way or one form or another. LSU is making a push, but it is not, from what I've been told, secured a commitment from Lane Kiffin. It certainly has not signed him to anything at this point, and there's still this awareness that he has not made a firm decision potentially, and that this is not over with yet. We are still going to have to kind of see how the week plays out. Obviously, we know he is coaching in the Egg Bowl on Friday. That was the decision that was made after the meeting between him, Keith Carter, and the university chancellor at Ole Miss this past Friday. And that, they say that he'll make an announcement Saturday. I have to imagine that the decision will certainly get made before Saturday, I would think. Probably, as soon as the Egg Bowl ends, everybody's just going to be wondering if it doesn't even come out before then, what he has decided to do. But that's where I feel like it is at this point. LSU is certainly zeroed in on Lane Kiffin. It is pushing for Lane Kiffin, but it has not secured Lane Kiffin yet.
The Lane train is coming down the track from Oxford, and the LSU people are waiting on the platform in Baton Rouge with a garland of roses and a giant check, and the train may slide right through, or it may back up the track.
Is this an express train, or is it a local? Is it stopping here?
We don't know.
The other thing I would add is LSU does feel confident right now, especially Friday. There was a lot of confidence brewing Friday, really Thursday into Friday, that they felt good about where they stand in this search. I think that is still the case. But to Rab's point, there's this feeling of coaching searches twist and turn at the last minute sometimes. We think back to Tom Herman and Ed Orgeron in the 2016 season. LSU was right in the mix there with Herman, but he was really playing them and then going to Texas. And they obviously hired Ed Orgeron instead. And so there's this, I think they're cognizant of that from what I've been told. And they also know that we're dealing with Lane Kiffin. To Rab's point, might just be like that private plane that thought they could troll everybody a little bit on Friday and pretend to go to Gainesville.
They got us. That was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Those who don't know what you're talking about, there was a
private plane. This had absolutely nothing to do with the coaching search or Lane Kiffin. There was just a private person. I talked to him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So he didn't want to be mentioned in the newspaper, so we're not going to say his name or anything like that. But he said that he had gone to Oxford for a work trip. That it was really just like a brief sort of thing. But he had seen people talking about his flight coming out of Dallas like the day before, because Lane Kiffin had been in Dallas, and they were like, oh, maybe this is the plane. And people were picking me up out of Dallas last night. And he's like, I really shouldn't have taken the trip, but I needed to do it. And so anyway, he acknowledged that the flight plan was just to go from Baton Rouge to Oxford and back, but there was a moment where they put it on their schedule that they were going to go to Gainesville. And so to have a flight map with Baton Rouge, Oxford, and Gainesville all connected at the same time was just perfect. But it was all the Gainesville part was just a total troll job, and well done. It was very good, but none of it had anything to do with the coaching search.
But Lane Kiffin would approve.
It was great theater.
Yeah. Oh, Lane Kiffin, who posts a different little pearl of wisdom from his favorite book every morning about how to make decisions and things like that, and everyone tries to read too much into it. Rab, what do you make of all this? Where are you at with Lane Kiffin after the meeting on Friday, where it feels like if Ole Miss was going to keep him, they would have just said, hey, he's staying. After that, they did not, which makes it feel like he's going somewhere. But where are you at with Lane Kiffin to LSU?
Obviously, he would like to coach Ole Miss. It seems to me obvious that he would like to coach Ole Miss through the end of the season. I mean, through the college football playoff, however far they go. LSU or Florida is not going to put up with that, and rightly so. So it looks like he wants to coach the Egg Bowl, and I guess they'll put up with that. I think it's still likely that he comes to LSU, but it's far from like 90% likely. It's like 60% likely, and then 40% he goes to stays not 40%, 40% with Ole Miss and Florida. However you want to work that out. Florida could still be in the mix. Like coaching searches, even with people who are less mercurial than Lane Kiffin, can be very strange. Nick Saban on the flight down here from Michigan State was like racked with self-doubt and second guessing. Am I doing the right thing? Should I be leaving? Should I not be leaving? I finally got a good team in Michigan State, that kind of thing. So these things can change on a dime. And Lane was maybe going to go to Auburn, a few years ago. And his daughter, Landry, who's dating Whit Weeks, talked him into staying at Ole Miss. So these things can change on a dime for a lot of reasons. I think LSU is, it seems they're putting in their best effort, and they're not. They seem to have found some alignment. I don't want to overstate it, but it seems like they've, after all the chaos, they found some alignment and have targeted on the person who everyone thinks is the best available coach in this coaching cycle right now. But I think they'll get him, but it's still, if they don't, it's not going to be any surprise to me.
It is not going to be cheap if they get him. From what I understand, from what I've been told, is that this offer to Lane, what LSU's been putting together, will make him one of, if not the highest paid coach in the country. I think it might be fair to wonder, why would you pay that much money to someone who has not yet won a national title or even a conference SEC championship? But he has done some great things with Ole Miss and some other teams throughout his career. And to your point, Rabbit, does seem like he would maybe be the best available candidate, or maybe the most proven available candidate. The best is hard to define, because you never know how this is going to turn out. Most proven
coach in the SEC who's available. I mean, he's won a lot of games. Hadn't won an SEC title or anything, but won a lot of games in the SEC at a school that's not always a power.
That's right. And so LSU is preparing to make, I think we're talking over $13 million per year with what they would likely present to him. And Yahoo Sports reported on Friday night that would be a 7-year deal. CBS said the same thing, that would be a 7-year deal. That's important to note. LSU is not going to, from everything I've been told, do another 10-year deal like they did with Brian Kelly. The thinking there is then that can, even though LSU is going to pay him annually a ton of money, that'll reduce the buyout if by year 4 they want to get rid of him again. That it still would be substantial and significant, but maybe not $54 million. But yeah, we're talking about over $90 million here, according to Yahoo and CBS, in terms of the total thing. And LSU's putting together, a commitment for roster investment. That would be, as I've been told, between $25 and $30 million annually. And that's a big thing for Kiffin. He's talked about that publicly. These jobs these days, what defines a good job is how much money you can spend on the roster. And so LSU has been needing to show him during this process that they can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason you would pay him that, even though you don't know if he's worth it, is because if you don't, somebody else will. I mean, that's the cost of getting Lane Kiffin right now. And if that's who you want, you have to outbid Florida. You have to outbid maybe Auburn. I don't know, whoever else would be offering him, and Ole Miss, what they would offer him to stay. So you just have to do it. It's a lucrative offer. It seems to me that all of the consternation about, is LSU going to step up to the plate, and what Governor Landry said a few weeks ago, that's all kind of gone by the wayside. This offer is going to be as competitive as anybody's.
That's right. And it is interesting that Landry made those comments in that press conference about calling the buyout a liability. And there had been talk, not just from Landry, but from influential people around LSU, about trying to find a deal that was a little bit more school friendly. I think they're going to satisfy some of that by having a shorter term on the contract, which again could then, if by year 4 you're looking to make a change, perhaps then your buyout is not as substantial. You also can build in some incentives into the cost of all of this to drive up the price for him, but also make it to where you're rewarding performance. That's something that Landry in particular has talked about quite a bit, but so have some others, like Wade Roos, the new LSU president. Like he says, we don't know the terms of his contract yet at LSU, but he said that he's all for incentive heavy deals. We'll see. We don't know all the details yet of this proposed offer. But those are some of the things that have been in play. But it does seem like, at least on an annual money basis, LSU is spending as much as anybody and willing to do so.
And it seems like, going back to the whole thing with the governor from the start of this, that they've got someone, for Josbury, someone has gotten him to understand that this is market driven. This is Jimmy Sexton driven, basically, but it's market driven, and so you can't just pay someone $1 million a win. That's I think that's a cool idea. Pay somebody 50. You win the national championship, you got $15-16 million. Pay them $1 million a win, but that's not realistic. If you want to get someone really good. And I do feel confident about this, that LSU's offer is, if they don't get Lane Kiffin, it's not going to be because someone else offered $5 million more a year or $5 million more in the NIL space. All these schools, from what everyone's saying, are basically offering him. They're not going to be outbid either. Yeah, LSU, Florida. Maybe Florida a little bit, but LSU and Ole Miss in particular, and it's a want to use a Les Miles term. What does Lane Kiffin want to do? Where does he think he wants to be? And I had someone tell me that Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin's father Monty was a very famous football coach. He passed away a couple of years ago. Nick Saban's kind of like a second father figure to him. He listened to what Nick Saban says. He listens to what Jimmy Sexton says, and supposedly they both think he should take the LSU job. But Nick spoke well of the LSU job on College Game Day Saturday. So you kind of know where his thoughts lie.
But what Lane Kiffin wants is a mystery. And I think it has been for some time, and we'll get clarity on it here in the next week or so. But right now, still a mystery. The LSU Sports Insider is sponsored by Jerry Lane Cadillac. You can command the road in a Cadillac where luxury, power, and presence come together. Experience it today at Jerry Lane Cadillac. Guys, if Lane Kiffin does not come to LSU, we mentioned Eli Drinkwitz, Missouri coach, last week as a possible backup candidate. Is that still what you're hearing, Wilson? Who else might be in that mix?
That's the name that I've heard the most, and what sources have told me is he would be a primary target in the search. I don't think he would be the only person who would just immediately pivot to Eli, and that would be the sole focus. I don't know that yet. We'd have to see how things play out, but that he's someone who they are certainly have been interested in this process. There's other names that come up without quite as much confidence behind them, maybe. But I mean, I think they'd be potentially worth mentioning in this format. John Sumrall, I think, has been someone who LSU might be interested in. Perhaps Brent Key, maybe Kenny Dillingham. But I think even maybe Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, potentially. But I think that they're further down the list at this point from what I've been told. And that the person who I think is closer to the top of the list is Eli. At least that's what I've been told at this point.
Scott, is this search a failure if they don't get Lane Kiffin in your eyes?
No, not at all. Most of the time, you don't get your first choice. And a lot of times schools have success without their first choice. I guess not apples to apples, but Jay Johnson was not LSU's first choice to be the baseball coach. Alabama offered Rich Rodriguez the job, and he turned it down before they went after Nick Saban. Now, whether they thought they could get him to leave the NFL at the time or not, but I mean, that's an unusual example. But no, I think there are other coaches who could win at LSU. Maybe Eli Drinkwitz. I don't think he's going to be a popular choice among LSU fans. If that seems to be the guy they're going for, I think I'll be more support for John Sumrall. Of course, you're in a little bit of the same boat with John Sumrall because they could make the college football playoff as well as the top group of six champion. But no, you can win with other people. It's not just Lane Kiffin or bust. It's going to seem like whoever LSU gets, if it's not Kiffin, LSU's settling though for somebody else. It's just going to seem that way initially, but it doesn't have to.
They won't win the press conference, in other words, but that doesn't mean it's not get hired. Yeah.
Don't even go into a coaching search wanting to win the press conference.
Right.
Though. Go get the best coach. You might be able to do both by hiring Lane Kiffin, but that should not be your motivation.
I think it's become a contest of self-worth though, with some of these schools like LSU and Ole Miss, which is as we've documented, is on the verge of one of their best season in a very, very long time, since the early 60s, at the very least. They have not been relevant for a long time, for a sustained period of time. And so it becomes a lot about self-worth. Can we get the best guy? Yeah, we got the best guy. It's like recruiting. Yeah, he picked our school over Michigan and Alabama and Texas, And I think there's a lot of that in this. But it doesn't have to be that. Long term, the best guy that you think right now might not win. But LSU hired the winningest coach in college football, the winningest coach at Notre Dame, 4 years ago, and ended up firing him.
Looked like a great hire. Yeah.
Speaking of recruiting, can we get Lane Kiffin to go on game day on Saturday morning with 3 hats on the table?
That's wonderful.
Amazing.
That's a great idea.
Where's game day? In Columbus? Or Ann Arbor?
I'm not sure.
I'm sure. Yeah.
That would be amazing. They do play Friday morning. I will say, SEC Network Plus, or wherever they stream the post-game press conferences, that might be more streamed in the Baton Rouge area than the LSU Oklahoma game on Saturday. Like, everybody's going to have their eyes on that post-game press conference from the Egg Bowl on Friday. So we'll see what happens. And to that end,
can I say one last thing? Yeah. The Ole Miss released that statement Friday saying that there'll be an announcement on his status, on Kiffin's status with Ole Miss after the Egg Bowl, or on Saturday. I'm still not sure he makes it there. I'm sure there's a lot of Ole Miss players and certainly boosters who don't want him to coach the Egg Bowl. They're doing this because they think it's their best shot to win and then secure their place in the college football playoff. But there's a lot of people who don't want him there, and we'll see if he gets to Friday morning. We'll see. He probably will, but it's not a sure deal either.
The atmosphere in Starkville on Friday will be just the most unique atmosphere between everything going on. I mean, it'll be crazy. So definitely worth watching. The LSU team itself has unfortunately done very little to distract us from the coaching search on the field. So we're going to pivot and kind of talk about the challenges facing the LSU next coach, whether it be Lane Kiffin or somebody else, right after this on the LSU Sports Insider.
I think the biggest thing that separates us is our people. We have a really amazing staff that really care about their customers, really care about our product. At Jerry Lane Cadillac, we value trust and transparency above all else. We have a little bit of something for everyone. So whether it be the 2025 Escalade, any of the smaller crossover vehicles, the XT4, 5, and 6, we've also got a wide variety of new EVs, including the 2025 electric Escalade IQ. I think the product lineup right now is the best that it's ever been in Cadillac.
Did they ask you to do the commercial too?
Yeah, but they just gave me one line.
Bet like a Caesar. Like, we're gonna sit here and we're gonna tell them how Caesar's Sportsbook is just so easy to use that you can watch and bet thousands of sports events, even some NFL games.
They'll probably show us betting on our favourite players and teams at all the Vegas hotspots too.
Like, we have time for that montage.
I told him I couldn't do it.
They couldn't afford me.
You know how far I've gone, now I'm home again. I'm feeling more alive these days than I've ever been.
At the Baton Rouge Clinic, our sole focus is to provide exceptional health care for your entire family so that you can get back to doing what you love most. We are caring for generations.
You gave me love, gave me love.
Welcome back to the LSU Sports Insider, talking a little LSU coaching search, and now going to pivot to some of the problems the Tigers have on the field. We are brought to you by Jerry Lane Cadillac. I'm Zach Ewing with Wilson Alexander and Scott Rabalais on this Monday. And guys, LSU did play a game on Saturday, officially. It will go into the books.
That was one of the worst games I have ever watched. I wanted to leave at halftime. I had a friend who was at the game, and I was like, "Are you staying for the second half?" Because no. It's like, I wish I didn't have to.
You and dozens of people were there to the bitter end.
Tens and tens of people.
Western Kentucky scoops and scores to make it 13-10 with like 30 seconds left, and you're just, oh my God, what if they get this onside kick? And I mean, like it just could have gone from bad to really bad. But LSU did win. They did not look good doing it.
No, they looked horrendous. That was, I mean, one of the worst games that the offense has played in quite a long time. I would argue, even though they scored fewer points against Alabama, their worst offensive game of the season to this point. I say to this point, it could get worse against Oklahoma this week, as I think we'll talk about in a little bit later. That was the offensive line is a mess, as it has been all year, but now they're dealing with some injuries. Like Braylon Moore went out. Michael Van Buren was hit or miss, to put it, I think, nicely. I mean, they hit a lot of just throws that were off the mark, and they didn't try to just run the ball a bunch on a run defense that was ranked 109th in the country coming into the game. They threw the ball more than they ran it, which I thought was very unusual. This offense is broken, and the only thing that's going to fix it is a new coach.
As I think I'm not always the most insightful person, but I think I spoke for a lot of LSU fans when I said my column was Lane Kiffin can't get to LSU fast enough because they need help on offense. I've been following. Neither of y'all are from here. I've been following LSU football since the late 70s. This, I think, has to be the worst offense I've ever seen at LSU. They have a chance to be the first team since the 1A 1AA split in 1978 to not score more than 25 points against an FBS level team, which used to be called 1A. That's bad. I mean, that's just
That's really bad.
That's incredible.
Historically so. Yeah.
Historically bad. So I'm looking at, I'm sitting next to Wilson in the press box there. I'm looking this up and I double checked. I said, every team has scored more than 25 points against a Power 4 team, an FBS team, except for this one. And they're not going to do it against Oklahoma Saturday, against that defense on the road with these issues that Wilson described.
Yeah, maybe the bowl game would be your last chance to do it. So
that's why I'm like, I say it's in danger of happening because, neither of us see it happening against Oklahoma. But again, maybe the bowl game.
Depending on what the matchup
Who knows
is.
what LSU's roster is going to look like.
And you're playing somebody who may also have a bunch of defections. So bowl games are total wild cards these days. But the point is, through 11 games, it has been historically bad. We don't expect it to get better against Oklahoma. So let's do a little shopping list for the new coach here. I mean, like, quarterback's number one. You mentioned Van Buren. I don't think you can go into 2026 with any confidence that he's your answer. I think you need to go quarterback shopping. And then number two is offensive line, which has had all these injuries, but wasn't good even when healthy.
Correct. The thing with the quarterback is we knew that LSU was going to need to go into the transfer portal for a quarterback, and probably a high-level one. But at least over these past few games, because Michael Van Buren was willing to give up his red shirt in exchange for more playing time, you were going to get a sense of, okay, can he be your starter? He has not proven that he can be your starter next year. He is someone who you probably want to keep around for depth, so you do not have to completely rebuild your quarterback room from top to bottom. But you need to go and you need to get somebody who can not only compete for their starting job, but probably come in right away and take hold of that. I would like to see whoever the next coach is bring in an offensive coordinator and a quarterback kind of together. It's not totally necessary. I mean, Ole Miss this year, Trinidad Chambliss had no experience with Charlie Weiss, their offense coordinator, or Lane Kiffin, who's sort of the mind behind that offense. But I see that Oklahoma and some other places that seems to be a wise thing. When you're having a lot of change next year, if the offensive coordinator and the quarterback are already on the same page, that could be helpful.
Vanderbilt did that, right? Diego Pavia and Jerry Kill a couple years ago.
Yes, exactly.
Worked wonders.
So yes, you got to go and you got to get quarterback, at least one, maybe two. And then the offensive line is the other thing. And what's going to be interesting is how many offensive linemen. We're talking about expensive premium positions here. Mm-hmm. Quarterback being the first one. But you're also, I mean, we've heard from last year numbers like Darian Mensah at Duke was paid like $4 million in NIL reportedly. Like, this is not going to be cheap. And then you got to go get offensive linemen. Offensive tackles, not cheap. You're probably going to need a guard and a center. Like, I think they need at least 3 offensive linemen who can come in and play right away. And then you probably need a big-bodied running back. You need another tight end. And you're going to need probably a receiver who can come in and play too. And that's just on offense. They're losing a lot on defense. And I think that they've probably recruited a little bit better on the defensive side of the ball. But I haven't, I don't know exactly like who's ready to step up and play. I mean, you're probably going to need a defensive end. You may need a safety. You may be all right at corner with DJ Pickett and PJ Woodland and some of those guys. But you got to probably need a linebacker too. You need a middle linebacker. Well. You got to get them set. Yeah, it's in the middle of a coaching change.
Yeah, there will be transfers out too. I mean, that's part of this too.
Right.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they're going to be shopping heavy in the portal. It feels like, or at least that they need to. And if they're going to stick on the offensive side of the ball, they need to strip it down to the studs and completely rebuild it. Because there's not a lot of guys who have proven that they're going to be starters next year. I would say Trey'Dez Green. I feel like you could probably start Tyree Adams and be okay. Remember, he's been out for a while now with that ankle injury, but he was a serviceable starter before that. Harlan Berry has shown you quite a lot over the second half of the year, even with that fumble late against Western Kentucky. And outside of that, I mean, you might try to get Aaron Anderson back if he's healthy. We know what he can be. On the offensive line, you've got some guys like Karius Kern, Solomon Thomas, who are young and probably worth continuing to try to develop, but you're not, I don't think, certain that they're going to be starters for you next year. So that Cohen Eccles, I would put in that mix as well. So, and Ori Williams. Again, guys who I think you are worth trying to retain and develop and see what you have, but you probably don't want to just go into next year thinking like, okay, they're definitely starters.
Right. And the good news is
they're at a tough spot.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin is a transfer portal shopper extraordinaire.
The self-proclaimed portal king.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I guess that makes him a good fit for what you would need next year. But you're asking somebody to come in here and kind of walk a tightrope, Rab. I mean, they're going to have to get a lot of players in a short period of time. They may have a big budget to do it. It's still going to be tricky.
That's why it's important that's another reason it seems like we all know, but just make sure the viewers know. That's why you can't wait till the end of the college football playoff. You know, you have to. The transfer portal opens up
January 2nd.
January 2nd, yeah, right. So that's only after the quarterfinals. So there's 2 rounds potentially. Ole Miss could. I don't think they're going to win the national championship, but they could go far. So you can't wait on him, something like that. The one thing about if Kiffin can come in. And he's very good at offense and he's very good at the transfer portal and the prospect of getting a good quarterback in the transfer portal, let's say Sam Levitt, let's just pick a name. He said he might transfer into another school for 2026, the Arizona State quarterback. A really good quarterback can cover up a multitude of sins. LSU's got a lot of issues and I doubt they can answer them all in the transfer portal and with high school recruiting.
Yeah.
But a really good quarterback can cover up a multitude of issues. So that's mission critical after getting the coach is trying to find a quarterback or 2, as Wilson said.
That's a good point that LSU may have to prioritize. Okay, what is our highest need and then go down the list. Yeah, because, okay, I threw out that number earlier of what they are preparing to commit to the coach annually on terms of revenue sharing and NIL combined in that $25 to $30 million range. A lot of schools are operating at the same level. Mm-hmm. You are not head and shoulders above everybody else financially. You are operating on a similar playing field. And so you are not going to be able to just outspend everyone and get everybody. So they're going to have to be able to prioritize certain players in order to spend that money wisely.
Okay, to that point, Wilson, this year, a lot was made of the fact that LSU said, Brian Kelly said it was an $18 billion roster this year. And that sounded great from what else you've done in the past, but that wasn't the top in the country.
As far as we know, no.
Yeah.
And to that point too as well, this is seen what LSU's preparing to commit as kind of a continuation of what they did on the roster this year with that push on NIL that they were able to generate. That it's not like a significant jump up, but that's what they're trying to do.
Part of the problem for the offense on Saturday and really all season has been injuries. So today's injury report is brought to you by the Baton Rouge Clinic, your trusted healthcare provider in the heart of Baton Rouge. Whether you're in need of primary care, specialist services, or urgent care, the Baton Rouge Clinic has you covered with a team of dedicated and experienced professionals. Visit BatonRougeClinic.com to learn more or to schedule your appointment today. The Baton Rouge Clinic, caring for generations. No Aaron Anderson on Saturday. Braylon Moore left with an injury. Like, it's just been the walking wounded on offense, starting with Garrett Nussmeier, but that's obviously not the whole problem, certainly a significant problem.
Garrett is doubtful, I would say, to play against Oklahoma, if not already ruled out. Frank Wilson, I think, really spelled this out nicely on his radio show on Thursday when he said that Garrett would like to play, but that what his body would have to do, the sort of beating that it's taken this year, it just seems like it's not like they've shut it down. It feels like, I mean, he hasn't been practicing. He obviously hasn't been playing, and as much as you might want to, it feels like the decision has kind of been made. Like it seems what I've been told, he's doubtful for this game, and So yeah, you're going to be rolling with Michael Van Buren again, I would think, at quarterback. And around him, it's going to be interesting. Like we said, Ori Williams and Braylon Moore left with injuries. What is their status going into this week? We don't fully know yet. LSU held some guys out against Western Kentucky because I think it thought that it could win that game comfortably. Aaron Anderson, we know, had hurt his elbow against Alabama, and Mansour Delane didn't play at all. He was dressed out but didn't play at all because while an LSU spokesperson said he was available, he's been playing through a core muscle injury since week 4 and wasn't even going to finish the Arkansas game. So LSU's got to kind of some different players like that who we'll see what their status is throughout the weeks. The other one would be Whit Weeks. He came in, it felt sort of ceremonial to play alongside his brothers finally. That was the plan.
And we got the 3 brothers. That was certainly the highlight of Saturday.
Yeah, you got that moment. And now it's going to be really interesting to see if he really tries to play against Oklahoma or not.
Caden
Durham as well. Yes, thank you. There's so many that it's hard to keep track of.
It is hard.
Yeah, Frank Wilson said that he may have suffered a concussion against Western Kentucky, and so we'll have to monitor his status throughout the week as well.
This is all to say, this Oklahoma opponent is not the opponent that LSU wanted to face in this juncture, with the offense struggling, with the injuries, everything else. And to that end, with it being a holiday week, we don't know exactly when we're going to be with you next on the LSU Insider. It's probably going to be a reaction podcast to Lane Kiffin's decision one way or the other. And we don't know if that comes Friday, if that comes Saturday, but we will be in scramble mode, ready to podcast when that happens. So until then, real quick on the Oklahoma game, guys. Oklahoma has the best defense in the SEC. They are used to playing these kind of knockdown, drag-out affairs. Like they beat Missouri 17-6 on Saturday in a game that it felt like Missouri never really had a chance because they just couldn't move the ball. Even though they were never down a huge number of points, couldn't move the ball. That's going to sound familiar to LSU fans. Oklahoma's defense is mean, they're nasty, and they've got a wounded opponent here.
Oklahoma's offense is not great either. They only beat Missouri 17-6 Saturday, but I just, given LSU's condition, with the injuries and the way they looked against Western Kentucky, we've probably been picking scores in the paper for LSU games since the mid '90s. I don't think I've ever picked LSU to get shut out. I'm leaning to doing that for this game Saturday. I'm struggling to see how in modern college football, you're going to get like a score, right?
You need the defense to set something up.
But I mean, I'm struggling to think that how they're going to, mount any kind of offensive attack in this game. I may pick them to get shut out, but not them like 17-0 or something like that.
Yeah, maybe the game will be close because LSU's defense has been pretty good, and even though they're playing a mobile quarterback, which seems to be their kryptonite sometimes, Mateer isn't quite as athletic and fast as like Marcel Reed. And so it could be a low scoring game. Like you said, Oklahoma's offense has been a little bit dysfunctional, but I'm right there with you. I mean, we saw LSU scored 9 points against Alabama. Their red zone offense is just miserable. I mean, gosh, they're up on the goal line again against Western Kentucky after the interception, and it was gross. I won't even describe the sequence
fully.
First
goal to 4, kick an 18-yard field goal.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
That's terrible. And so, yeah, I don't know that I'll pick them to get shut out just because surely they'll kick a field goal at some point, or maybe 2. But I think it is worth wondering. I mean, this is almost going to bring back some nightmares, but it's almost like, I mean, gosh, can they cross the 50? Like, I'm sure they'll cross the 50 at some point, right? It's not going to be that situation again, but it just inspires very little confidence. I do not expect LSU to win the game.
The over-under is 37.5, which is extraordinarily low for a college football game. But it's hard to see how they get there unless the defense has set up scores or something, and you have a special team score. Oklahoma's kicker's very good, so they'll kick some field goals too. Like I just don't see how this game gets into the 20s at all.
I may pick this. Maybe I'll pick this score: 6-4, 3 safeties to 2 safeties. That might be a good score.
Oh my gosh. Oklahoma has hit at least like one big offensive play. It seems like
they've got a good receiver.
Yeah, they do tend to pop at least one big play, but down they're not very good. Like the success rate status can be very low for both teams in this game.
And by the way, LSU's not sneaking up on Oklahoma. They need a win to get in the college football playoff.
They will get their full attention.
Yeah, you're playing a motivated team on the road
with a strength where your weakness is, if that makes sense. So you're you're going to be up against it on Saturday. That will end the regular season, maybe thankfully for a lot of LSU fans at this point. And then we'll be full into coaching watch. So we will see what happens. Again, don't know exactly when we will be with you next, but probably sometime this weekend reacting to Lane Kiffin news one way or the other. What's on the Thanksgiving docket, guys?
Headed back to Atlanta and gonna spend it with the family a little bit before flying out to Oklahoma and panicking every time I'm on a flight that something happens while I'm in the air and have no cell service.
Every time your phone buzzes, it's like crisis mode. Yeah.
Got a ton of family coming over to my house for Thanksgiving. We're doing 2 turkeys. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You can have the phone like plastered to your palm just to make sure nothing happens?
A grandchild in one hand and my phone in the other.
Just don't do it on Thanksgiving, Lane. Come on.
Yeah.
Be considerate.
Well, Nick Saban left on Christmas Day, so I don't put anything by these coaches.
You never know. All right. We will follow it every step of the way. And if it's Thanksgiving, hey, it'll be Thanksgiving. Otherwise, we will see you after probably the Egg Bowl in some
It would be
form
something for
or
LSU fans to be thankful for.
There you go. That's a good way to look at it. Our producer today was Courtney Lawrence. He's Scott Rabalais. He's Wilson Alexander. I'm Zach Ewing. This has been the LSU Insider brought to you by Jerry Lane Cadillac, and we will see you next time.